to Emotional Support Water Bottle. And I'm Anna.
And I'm Ailish. That was
my dog.
Anna's dog.
Again.
We have some breaking news.
Dun,
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 dun, dun, dun, dun.
Ashley Olsen has given birth to her first child, a little boy allegedly named Otto.
I know. I am surprised. I didn't think that either of them would have children, honestly. I mean, I'm happy for her.
And I'm surprised, and apparently it happened a couple months ago. I'm surprised we even know at all.
I know, me too. I was just going to say, it doesn't surprise me that was kept a secret, right? Because
we know nothing
about them. They, I do miss them.
I know. I used to literally love them, and they were so beautiful. I mean, not that they're not beautiful now, but I just remember thinking, and I remember I really liked that. I think it was So Little Time was the one show where they're kind of like teenagers. Yeah.
That was a cute show.
It was.
I kind of forgot about that.
I know. Probably like 10 years ago. The episodes were on YouTube, and I was like watching them again just for nostalgic purposes.
I know. They were just so iconic. I mean, they're still iconic.
Yeah, but they're so private that we don't...
You forget about them.
I know. We don't get anything.
And then you have, their sister, Elizabeth Olsen, who's like a legitimate actress.
She's
like
out
adult
here doing
actress.
it.
And you're just like, oh, wait, you have sisters? Like, it used to be the other way around.
I know. And it's funny because they all do kind of like look alike, like the face shape and like the eye shape.
They do. I really, if I had the money, I would definitely shop at the Row.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I love their stuff, but it's not in my price point at all. I remember when I was in college, this one girl I was in school with, she would have been like the third Olsen triplet, but she loved them so much, and her ideal internship was to be with the Row, and she got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I think at the end they let the interns have a piece, or it was either that or That's she just awesome. Became close with her superior and she gave her something on the down low, and I can't remember what she got, but I remember her being like, this is coveted. She was so, and it was probably a sample, you know, but yeah, that was a pretty cool internship for her.
Aww.
I know. Well, congratulations,
Ashley.
Hopefully we see pictures of the baby, but I would be shocked.
Well, maybe now that we know, we'll see them out strolling around.
It's so crazy too. We see all these other random photos of celebrities in New York, and then we never see them ever anymore. I feel like there was a time where we would get random photos of them walking on the street, but
smoking in the corner.
There's smoke breaks at the work, but now it's we don't see them at all.
So obscure. I know. I feel like they are so out of the drama and stuff that the paparazzi just aren't even following them around anymore. But
it almost makes me believe more though with everybody calls the paparazzi on themselves.
Yeah,
and they don't.
Right.
So it's oh, no wonder they're not pictured walking.
They're just out here living.
And I think they really would just blend in too,
I think so too. I mean, I think if you were looking for them, you would see them or notice they were around, but I don't know. I feel like they've got the sunglasses and the oversized.
They just blend in, and they're hidden by.
They probably live in the richest place you can live.
I know. I wonder if someday we should do a little New York trip.
I know.
And we can just look for celebrities.
Like stalkers.
Like psychos.
I was actually listening to a podcast not that long ago, and they did the deep dive into Mary-Kate and Ashley and their childhood, and it really is sad that they were literally worked to the bone. And I guess their mom, which I didn't really know this, was just took them to the audition and was here, and then it was they just never had a choice in the matter.
Well, since they were infants with Full House. And then they just grew up in that. And then it was
They were
these
making like a bajillion
twins.
movies.
Yeah.
Before they're even 18. It's like, that would burn you out.
Olsen,
And then they were like...
Olsen Detective Agency.
I owned it getting there. They're driving their Sweet 16 one. I used to love that. And I love their clothes in it.
And remember they had books too?
Yeah, yep.
Like they really franchised that.
I know. And their clothes, or is it clothes they had at Walmart?
Yeah, I think they did. And then
they had makeup.
Remember then they went to Elizabeth and James. That was like a step up before. I can't remember if that was like pre the row.
I think it was. It was named after their brother and sister.
Yeah.
How sweet.
I know. You really could deep dive into them because they have had quite the career.
I know.
Well, anyway, again, congratulations, Ashley. We'll have to send a baby gift. This is like really sad, but I feel like we have to bring it up just because it's a timely issue. But the Maui fires that are just horrific. Like I've seen photos of it and I cannot even like fathom.
I know. And then you're like stuck on an island.
I know.
That's scary.
And fires are so scary
They
anyway.
are. And they can just like get out of control so fast.
I know. And I don't know, like I haven't read up about some of the more political stuff where it's like, why didn't the alarms raise? Like I don't know that whole detail, so I'm not going to speak to that. But I just recently saw, and I know it's from the Daily Mail, so it's not always the most reliable source, but they were saying how like so many residents of the island and some other celebrities are like, don't go to Hawaii. And then people were kind of calling out Paris Hilton because she was there. The timeline was a little bit messed up though, because the fires started last Wednesday and I guess Paris arrived like that same day. So it's kind of like she wouldn't have known probably. But I don't know. It's like, well, she probably should have left.
Right.
Or like, is she helping? Like, we don't really know. I just felt kind of weird about that.
It was weird. And the fact that they even have to like say to people like, don't fly in.
Like, no like, kidding. But the other thing was Oprah. So she came in, and I don't know what day she came in. I didn't write that one down. But apparently she came in with a film crew and came to one of the like places where they're housing these displaced people because their homes and lives burned to the ground. And she's like filming it. And then finally one of the locations put their foot down and they're like, you can come in and help, but we are not allowing media and film crews
like,
and reporters.
It's going on right now.
I know.
Like,
it's just like, why is that something that even needs to be said? Like, why would you, and what? And I know it's Oprah, and I know that Oprah does do a lot of really good work with people, but it's just kind of like, why do you need to film that?
I know, and like, in the end, make money off of it.
Yeah, it just like is weird. And then I'm glad that they did say something because I'm sure other people were trying to monetize off of that. I know, I'm sure there's
some YouTubers.
Right, but just like, I don't know. And then I saw stuff with like Kourtney Kardashian put a post out of her in water, and then her caption was something about
I saw that.
It's something about the water, like something the flame or the fire in me or something. And people are like, "Are you kidding me? Like how toned down?" And I know she definitely didn't do it on purpose, but it is kind of like. After the fact, like, couldn't you have changed the caption? I mean, come on. Sometimes I swear, like, you just, I know sometimes I don't know what's going on with stuff, but as a celebrity, like, you have a whole, like, publicist and a team.
You should probably say something about this.
It's just, like, wild. Or, like, hey, that caption's a little insensitive.
Like, where's the PR for Chris?
Yeah.
Chris, get over here and change this for her.
Oh, but yeah, that is just so horrible. Like, I can't even imagine if, like, my apartment burned down. Like, I would just
like, what do you even do? And it's like, there's nothing left.
I know. Like, that's just terrifying.
It is terrifying. That really freaks me out. Like, just thinking about, even when the smoke was like
I know.
in our area, it's like, gosh.
Yeah, I know. And that's still burning in Canada, but they're just like kind of letting it go. And I just wonder, not to like go on about this for forever, even though it is something that's important.
Right.
But like if we were feeling the effects of this smoke, and I know where the fires are actually burning up there, it's not like a highly populated area. But imagine like
what it's like to live close to it. I know. It's awful.
That is just, don't go outside.
And you literally can't like, even on Maui and everything, it's like you cannot do anything about it. It's literally just, I mean, you can, they're trying, but it's like,
yeah. Or just like, after the fact, it's like you can't just leave because your car probably went up in flames.
Right. Your bank is gone. Yeah. It's like, it's
I just cannot fathom it.
No.
So
scary.
So scary, so wild, so...
And all the animals.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. That is... Poor little things. Well, to completely switch gears, did you see the Britney Spears pole dancing video?
Mm-hmm. I did.
I am genuinely concerned at this point. I mean, I was before, but that for me was really like... Okay, what is happening? Like, what is going on?
I know. And, like, I know people have kind of, like, I feel like everybody's really quiet right now because we all worked so hard together.
And now we're like, oh, dear. Maybe.
I know. And I guess you can't even expect her to be normal after all that. But it is kind of like... Because she used to be a really good dancer.
I know. And some of the stuff she does, I'm like, okay.
It's just, I think it's just like the scene of it all. Like sometimes there's no music.
Right. Or like, it's clearly like a track that she put on for the story. Yeah. And you're like, were you even dancing to anything? Or...
that one video her butt was she was like smacking her butt and it was a red mark. Just like,
what does her setup do? Because it's like, I cannot imagine that Sam is there filming this.
No, I feel like she literally probably has like what we have. And just like,
and for those you can't see, we have a pretty...
It's a stick. It's basically a selfie. Holding up a cell phone. Well, anyway, that's what I picture. I think she probably has the Bluetooth remote control.
And we also don't have a ring light. We just have a lamp.
It's bad. I'll take a picture and post it on our Instagram.
Real life, guys. This is real life. But yeah, anyway. And I love when Heather McDonald will be like, she's there dancing in the entrance to Cheesecake Factory. Because it literally looks like that.
It really does. Oh, like the floor and everything looks like the cheesecake.
She'll do it so casually. She's like, she posted another video at the Cheesecake Factory. But I mean,
I know. No, it's not funny.
No, it's not. It's just, I mean,
I guess she's doing, like, she loves dancing, but it just seems like just the videos are so like awkward
and they're disjointed, you know. It's like she posts so many of them.
Yes,
but it's like, are you doing this like every single day?
Right.
Do you film like a couple hours and then post them at multiple?
Because that is what like basically her content is.
Yeah, just her dancing. And then I was looking because I finally downloaded Instagram to not even help, just to look.
That's where I'm getting my news now. I stopped looking at the Daily Mail and I've been getting it on Instagram.
I mean, you know, why go anywhere else?
It's all good there.
But I was looking at her page, and if it's not a dancing video, it's like a random photo from Google that's like of a puppy or something, and then she'll have a 3-paragraph essay as the caption. And I mean, it's clear that she's writing her own captions because they're really nonsensical.
They are.
It just seems like this is her stream of consciousness, and she throws in some emojis. And it is just, it's concerning. The pole dancing one, I mean,
it was a lot.
How much lower can she pull down? I don't know if they're bikini bottoms or if it's actual underwear, but how low can they go? I mean, really,
there's not much there at that point.
It is really. I just don't know what to say.
No, and it's like, and I don't even want to like make fun of her or anything because, I mean, she looks
She looks good.
Yeah,
she really does.
It does feel like an old lady like posting dancing videos.
And I guess I don't understand the purpose.
No, yeah, because it's like she doesn't even say anything like, "Oh, this is what I love to do." It's just like these thrusting and
a lot of like head whipping, hair flipping,
extensions.
Yeah, I know.
Did you see that? There was parts of her book that like Colin Farrell and Justin Timberlake were like stopping.
Yes, I did. You know, we're going to read the book, but
I'm nervous.
I'm very nervous. And when you see her Instagram captions and even like the rare video that she'll like post of her talking about something, I'm just like, you know, it's going to be a ghostwriter. Like, how much is she actually going to be involved? Like, I don't know.
No, I don't know either. It could be this really beautiful, insane book, or it could be like her Instagram.
But I wonder, like, they must have reached out to.
I know I guess, yeah, that's what I wondered, because we've even wondered that about some of these, because some celebrities will just like name drop, or even like the Elliot Page one, where she was talking about Kate Mara. Is that and kind of like talked about how they had a relationship, and we were like, do they know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would hope
so
that
now,
they would.
I know. So now it does make me think. But then when the Demi Moore one, Ashton Kutcher got kind of mad about the stuff she put about him. So then you wonder, like, does it just depend?
But I wonder, like, can you, I feel like if it's a story about your life, you probably can say whoever you want.
I know, I would think.
As long as it's not like made up and slanderous.
Right. I know. It's like they were part of your life. Why can't you talk about them? And even in like Jamie Lynn Spears' book, she brings up Justin Timberlake. So it's like, I wonder if maybe because of everything she's been through, she went through this, so everything was like legally fine and no one was going to say anything, or what?
Or maybe they're just like Colin Farrell and Justin Timberlake are nervous about
what she's going
to say, because at this point it could be like, oh no, there's some dirt, or it could be like, I literally just don't know what's gonna come out,
or like, I don't want to be associated with this. I wonder, maybe they heard that she was coming out with a book and then they like reached
they went on red alert. I don't know. I mean, like you said, I don't think there's any way that we should have all, as a collective society, expected her to be a completely normal person after all that she's gone through. But it just feels like, I'm glad that she has control over her own stuff. But I also, like, I can see kind of why there was a conservatorship, because it just, seeing stuff like this, it makes you concerned about like the rest of her life, you know, like, is she doing okay with her money? Is she, you know, like, that's what, I mean, and everything with the kids are kind of a mess.
I know.
Poor Brittany.
I know. That poor thing just got used and abused by Hollywood, and all the people around her, and
they just chewed her up and spit her out.
They did. No, we're left with the pole dancing.
Spitting her out again. I know. It's just, you're right. It's hard to watch, really.
I know, because
it's like, not like a 5-second video. It's like 3.5 minutes. Like, it's long,
twirling and twirling and twirling.
She set up like she got the pole. She set up like 3 mirrors. Like, it's a whole thing too. It wasn't like, this is in my basement. Like, you just, I don't know. And then she's like, I just got this yesterday and this is the first time I've ever was on it. Like, okay, weird flex, Brittany. Like, I don't really know.
I'm just really
like,
good
you're
at
doing
this.
some crazy spins. Anyway.
Oh, Brittany Jean.
God love her.
I was on TikTok. We've kind of talked about like this before, like between us, but there was this woman on there and her daughter was like in the hospital with like a severe, like she had problems before, like health issues before, but then she ended up having like the seizures and everything. Mm-hmm. And then so she's in the hospital, and the first TikTok that came up on the timeline was that the daughter had passed away. So then you go and you like
look through the whole thing.
And I mean, I just feel like ethically,
I know.
You know, it's like you can witness this she was a 16-year-old girl. You're seeing her basically, I feel like she started like when they went into the hospital after all this, and the mom is just like posting the girl and like showing her like, so because I guess she got sepsis.
Oh yeah,
I'm saying that wrong.
When she was septic.
Yes.
Yeah. Sepsis.
Sepsis. Yeah. Okay. She got that in her. I mean, she was showing her. I mean, just
which is
like
awful.
It was, and it was hard to look at with that. But then it's like this poor girl. Like, give her some decency and like dignity. And it was just. And then like when their funeral was, it was almost like a get ready with me. Like, we're going, she's like brushing her hair and she's like doing a voiceover. So I'm just thinking like every time you did something new, you had to turn on the TikTok, turn it off, turn it back on.
Right.
And it was just, I mean, everybody grieves differently and stuff, but I mean, I just kept thinking like, what if that girl, because she was kind of like, she really just had eye movement, but she would like kind of move her hands too, and I'm like, what if she really is consciously there and she's just like, Mom, put the freaking phone down?
Was it when she started, and I don't know if you went back like all the way or if it ever showed, but was she ever like fully conscious when she was sick, or?
I don't think I went back far enough. I couldn't tell though.
But either way, like, you're right. It's kind of like, did you ask her if you could do this?
I know.
Like, did she agree? Like,
exact. And then it was like the mom, like I get like the mom getting on there and just kind of like getting her thoughts out, but I just don't feel like showing the daughter in that way was. I
find it so. Because there was somebody, it wasn't on TikTok, it was primarily on Facebook, which I'm not on, but someone told me about it and then everything was open so I could see. And it was with a baby though. It was like 1 or something. I think we talked about that. And it's just like, obviously that child has no idea.
Right.
And I know that in that situation, like, you're trying to raise money and like you need, and I get it, it's a fundraiser and you need help. And at some point too, you're trying to raise awareness for this.
Right.
But like, where's the line?
I know, because it was feeling very like, I know we say this a lot, but Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Like, it just was like, when do we put the camera down? I don't know. I guess there is like a fine line, because there is a lot of things like, oh, my kid grabbed a boiling pot of hot water and got severely burned, and like, this could happen to you. I should have been careful. And it's like, oh yeah, I gotta really remember that. But some of that stuff, it's just like,
no, and I think it is, I mean, in my opinion, it's different if you are just saying like, hey, I'm on here because I want to raise awareness, like my daughter has this illness or this happened to my son. But then when you like start filming them or posting videos of them like suffering, it just feels like, I don't know why we need to see that. Like,
I know.
And if I was in that situation, like if I was really ill and my dad started a TikTok about me, I mean, I barely want to like, you know, leave the house if I am feeling bad about myself. And then if I'm in a hospital bed where I look my worst.
And I'm dying. I mean, like, the girl was dying. That was just, I remember there was this one, like, she was kind of a YouTuber, but her baby passed away of SIDS, and there was this one picture where because they were in the hospital for a while with the baby, and she's like sitting with like her knees up on the floor with like her head down on the floor, and I'm like, did you set up camera and take I mean, there's no, and the camera was like on the ground, like where she was. That's where it looked, the angle, and it's like,
it's not really like a candid photo.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like I don't want to even say she posed. Like she probably really was crying. But I would just not be taking a picture of myself crying. Like
I know, and I guess we're not like fully into the social media game.
I think that's
so I wonder if we were involved in it more individually and then we started the podcast and we're like deep into it.
Right.
I mean, because it's not a secret that we're not like the best at like pumping out content. And when we do it, we're like, what do we do?
Right.
But like maybe for other people, it does come more naturally and they do. But for me, it feels really forced to when I'm like crying or even when I see like not as a dark of a topic, but like I've seen on our TikTok too where it's primarily women that I see pop up, but they'll be like, I'm just like having a breakdown or like this happened to me, and it's like you're crying and you're filming yourself, and I'm just like, I would literally never do that.
No.
Like I would never even think to do that.
No, and I guess maybe it's like a generational thing, but I feel like I guess that generation is so oversharing, but I couldn't do that. I don't want somebody to see me because I don't know. It's like sometimes you're upset about something too, and then you get like over it, and then you've got this video out there,
and it's not even that it's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. It's just like I don't feel the need to share that with people I don't even know. No, like if I was really upset about something and I would like send you something or because I know that you actually care about me and
so these
you're gonna talk
strangers,
to me about it. I guess, and I also don't need the validation from random other people either, and I feel like sometimes it has to do with that.
I know. Even with that lady that was posting her daughter, she was like responding to like mean comments, and that's the other part of it too. It's like when you start showing the daughter and being that open about it, you're just bringing all that hate to you too, and there probably wasn't that many hate comments, but it's like, but still, then you're getting yourself more upset, and she's
looking through and reading
comments
them.
And like responding to me. I don't know.
I mean, obviously that's horrible what that family went through, and you don't want to like.
It's off. I know, and it's like I don't even want to judge her because that'd be a really hard situation. But I guess I was just having sympathy for the girl who was
and I guess like I don't know, I mean, I don't know what I would do, but if I had a child that was going through that, or even if it was like my dad was sick and going through that, like I don't know if I would want to document that time either.
See, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, I don't think I want to I mean, if you have like, I don't know, last pictures like with them, with you,
but not, I don't think I would want to like
document
memorialize like them dying part. You know, like it was every stage of their illness.
It's like
I remember my like grandma had like so many things that were just health problems that like they couldn't really figure out, and one time her like arms like swelled up really bad because they gave her a certain medicine that didn't mix with another one she was on, and it was like her arms were like black, like it was crazy. And I remember they took my grandpa took photos of it, but it was to kind of document like the doctors messed up, like we want to have this. And even now when like, you know, if we're looking through random photos and it's like in there or something, it's like, oh my God, like it's hard to look at, you know, and it's like, I wouldn't want to have that kind of stuff on my phone and just be scrolling through and be like, oh, that was when, you know, my dad was dying in the hospital and I took this horrible photo of him. Like, I don't know. Everybody grieves differently, but I don't know.
I guess if you're just trying to think of it from the perspective of the person that's suffering.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would feel like if I was suffering like that, I wouldn't want a camera in my face like that unless it's like pictures with my kids. You know, it's like I felt bad for that person.
That is so tough. And maybe they did use it to like get money for treatments or something, but it just feels like you could do it in a different way
than showing her in just this awful.
Yeah, I mean, that is sad. And isn't it bizarre too that it's like the extremes of social media where you have horrific stories like that are so heartbreaking, and then you have people doing these stupid dances.
I know,
like
then you have Britney Spears on the pole.
Yeah, it's like the super extremes.
It's wild. Like,
I know.
Social media, man.
I know.
Woo. Anyway, we don't have to talk about sad stuff.
Going forward, it's going to be more
like
the things that are like a little more upbeat. Do you want to transition into OC?
Sure.
All right. Well,
this episode, I guess, like...
Well, first I wanted to start out the random montage at the beginning of just their pets.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
oh, no.
What is this?
That was weird. It's like everybody's got a dog. Okay.
All right. Like, what? And then we never discussed it.
I literally feel like there is a girl, like a young girl in the editing room who's like, oh my gosh, they all look at all this footage we have of their doggies, and just like threw it in there.
But
I don't know.
Like when Emily was giving their dogs a bath, I'm like, so did you do that for the camera?
I know.
Or were
do
they
you always
just
give a dog a
there?
bath?
That was random, but that was just so bizarre. I was like kind of thrown off by it because I watched the episode twice and I was like, I didn't even realize it at the first time.
I know. When I was watching it, I'm like, oh, there's the dog. You know, that's normal. Oh, then there's their dog. Because it's like they did it with that working out thing, too.
It's just they look for random things to do at the beginning, which is kind of odd, but whatever. Well, I feel like we just got another episode of Tamra stirring the pot. And it started basically from the beginning where she's like, did they call it? You do me, I do you party or something.
Where they like you had to like draw a name and dress up like that person.
Well, I guess it can be fun, but like what is up with this trend nowadays where it's even I'll see stuff with like bachelorette parties and it'll be like dress like the fiance or dress like the fiance's name is John.
Redhead.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
what?
so random.
I know. And it was, who do you think did the best?
Oh, I wrote down stuff because when they all came out, I was like, I thought that Tamra looked good with like the hair and makeup.
Yeah, I thought so too. I wish she would have like not been so mean spirited about it.
It wasn't even like Heather.
Dude,
like she literally, even the outfit was nothing that Heather would wear.
No, and it just said that she's like, when she say slutty Heather or something.
Yeah, Heather DeHo, which made no sense at all. This is typical Tamra. Like I am so
Wasn't
not
this her
on the
freaking
Tamra
party?
train. Yes. And why is she's just so mean-spirited?
I know, it's like she wanted to be Heather. And yeah, like you said, the hair and makeup looked good. Like I thought she did the makeup person did a good job. Like it looked like she tried. And then the outfit was like...
if she would have put on a real outfit that Heather would wear, she would have looked the best, I thought.
Yes.
But I'm just sick and tired. It's like Heather is just, Tamra is just constantly trying to do these like attention grabs. Like this will be funny. This will get on. Like
let me see if I can like. It's always like
right.
What can I do to make everybody mad?
I'm tired of it. I thought that Gina as Emily was pretty good.
I thought she did really good.
But Emily was right. She needed a little bit more up top. And I also thought that Emily as Shannon was really good. I thought she was the best.
And then Shannon's like, I don't do that.
Like, yes, you do.
The
Shannon. mannerisms were so
literally
good.
And the wig and the like blazer and everything. I was like,
and the
oh
random
my
like
gosh.
printed like pants and the glasses that she kept putting. Oh my God, I thought she did the best.
She did. And she like really like embodied the person.
Yeah. Who did you think was the worst?
Maybe Heather as the girl we don't really know that well.
Yeah,
wasn't she Jen? Yeah. But I thought Heather looked good, but I just felt like she was kind of like, this is what she had to work with. Kinda.
Right. And I thought that because Jen made a comment about the hair isn't really me. And I agree. Like it wasn't, it was too dark. And I'm like, you guys all have plenty of money that you could have bought in like literal replica wigs. I don't know what's going on. I thought that hers was like one of the laziest.
Yeah.
But I thought that Jen as Taylor and then also Taylor as Tamra were horrible.
Yeah, the Taylor as Tamra, I didn't really
That was
like.
basically nothing.
I know. And I know, I feel like they just like didn't want to do it or something. But I feel like it was fun. I mean, you're just doing it for the show. Just do it.
And
do it right.
Jen as Taylor, like, she really leaned into the fact that she goes to the deck, which
But
I felt like
probably,
no one knew.
I know. I feel like that's probably all she knew about Taylor.
Right.
Was like, because they don't really know each other that well. Like, that would have been better if they would have known each other in this
It should have been, and it should have been, like, just more of the, like, an OG cast to do that. But I thought that Jen's wig for Taylor was really bad, too.
Yeah.
And even how she did her lips, it was like, I know she has huge lips, but it just looked more like too clownish.
Right.
Anyway, that's enough about that. I do think it would be kind of hard to do that.
It would be, like, to really, like, think about it. And then if you don't look like the person at all, it just in general, it'd be hard to make yourself look like them. But.
I know. Yeah, so basically, I don't know what else. Oh, the part with Ryan talking about marriage so much. And I thought that scene where Jen is talking to that random friend was really odd. But I feel like Ryan being like, yeah, within the next like year, we'll be married or engaged or whatever. I just think it's so gaslighty.
I know. I did not like the way he's like, no, like, don't break up with me because no, like, I'm going to keep you hanging on. Like, I just feel like he's trying to make her hang on and just like play it up for the show.
I think so too. And I'm glad
not impressed.
No, I'm glad that Jen did say in her little like confessional,
yeah,
she's like,
she seemed kind of,
I'm worried if once the ring goes on and I'm not going to be in another failed marriage, like please stick to that, Jen, but it's like I don't have a lot of hope because we've already seen them on Watch What Happens Live and they're still together.
You're right.
So
and not engaged.
Yeah.
Just saying.
What did you think about Vicky's list of 18 things for a man?
I think she has a right to be. She's a successful woman, and if she wanted, I liked when she was like divorced, not separated. It's like, no, I actually thought it was funny.
I didn't think they were crazy.
No, I thought they were pretty reasonable, especially because it's like she's older. Like she ain't trying to waste her time on some like nonsense.
And honestly, I feel like if I were to sit and actually write a list of things that I wanted in a partner, like 18 things sounds kind of crazy, but it really isn't. Right. You know, like it's not.
No, and it wasn't even like looks based.
No,
it was just, this is what I want.
I liked how at the end she's like, a boat would be a plus, but I don't need a boat. We need Vicky back.
I know.
So bad.
I'm actually surprised I thought we were just going to get
a
one
little
little thing. Yeah,
Me
but
too.
she's been like on
I'm
it.
glad. I mean, I think she really is.
I know.
She is the OG of the OC, and we need her on this show.
I know. Why did she get fired? Do you remember?
I don't really remember. I mean, it was a while ago.
I remember she kind of had like a freak out and was like, it's my show. Yeah. But she was like freaking out. And I feel like about that is when she was fired, but I don't know if that's really all it was.
I don't think that the whole Brooks situation really boded too well for her. And then even that guy, what was that other guy's name? I can't remember after Brooks. He looked like a creeper.
It was John too. Like I feel like there's been like 100 Johns.
He wasn't really, and then he turned out to be skeezy. It was like she just went through a tough time. Oh, and then there was everything about Brianna and her husband stuff.
Yeah.
Because I stopped watching for a little bit, but then I was listening to another podcast and they were kind of like rehashing stuff. And it was like her husband like really went in on one of the housewives' moms. And like, I don't know. I don't think those two are still together.
My mom keeps up with Brianna.
I could be wrong.
I feel like they might be separated.
Yeah.
Unless I'm...
Because he always had a weird controlling vibe. But they both were in the military, right?
Yes.
Isn't that where she met him? Anyway, that was a little tangent. But yeah, I miss Vicky a lot. We need her back as a regular. And I hope that Andy Cohen just like bites the bullet and says, come back as a main, please. Like we need to. All right. Do you want to dive into the crux of the episode?
Well, just the fights. Basically, you know, Shannon is... Okay, this is my takeaway from it. That's what happens when you talk too badly about your partner to your friends. And like, that's why you have friends, so you can confide in them, but don't get mad when they get really concerned. Right. And if you're going... That's why... I don't know.
It just is like that age-old tale where it's like, you know, as a friend, right, you shouldn't ever really full-on take a side either, talk badly, no matter how badly your friend talks about their husband or boyfriend. You can't say anything too negative because then they're going to get back together and you're going to be the bad guy. Right. But it just felt like... I was so confused by the whole thing because I don't know how it got twisted that this was all Heather.
I know. And that's what was confusing about it too. And then Shannon's like over there confronting Heather.
But then they made up.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're over there like, well, and then Tamra's like, I didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, well, Shannon, you did tell us all this stuff. And then they're like, well, who talked about it to you? Heather did. It's like you guys were all talking about it with each other. And they even like Emily was getting really mad.
I know, she really was.
She's like, was she the one who was talking about how she's like, he calls you fat and blah blah blah. It's like, well, there it is.
Well, and then she said, like at first Emily was like, well, Heather's the one that said stuff. Heather. But then when she was talking to Shannon like separately, she's like, you told me at Ernesto's, I can't remember the name of that restaurant. You told me this, and Shannon has like the deer in the headlights look like, oh no. I
don't remember saying that.
Yeah, but and Emily even said like she has a few cocktails at dinner and she starts to divulge stuff, which I don't blame Shannon for that at all.
No, I know that's what's tough, and I did kind of feel like specifically Tamra was like kind of using it against her.
She literally, I'm so tired of Tamra. Like each episode that goes by, I get more and more frustrated with her because this is just absurd. Like, and then she's literally started the entire thing.
She did.
And then she's out there trying to pretend to be the best friend ever to Shannon. And then something's mentioned about Heather where like, well, Heather said that Tamra did, which Heather never said. They rolled back the tape.
Literally.
And then Tamra's like, what? This is ridiculous. And stomps out. And she's like, Heather, why are you bringing me into it? It's like another performative thing. Like it's
let me
not
throw
about
a tantrum
you.
so you don't look at. I know I guess too, like I was listening to podcasts and they brought up a good point too. It's like, is this what we want to watch anymore? It's like women being so freaking nasty to each other because they were just, I mean, besides Taylor, Jen, Gina, I don't think she was really in this fight much.
No, she really wasn't.
It's like, is this what we want to watch anymore? Just like women screaming and treating each other like crap.
But it was just so silly. Like I just didn't understand. Like, and obviously there is something that Shannon wants to hide because
and she was like freaking out.
Yeah, and like it escalated so quickly.
And she's like, I'm not doing this.
But there were a couple things that she said that I was just like, these are red flags. Mm-hmm. She said, John will hate me talking to my friends about the fights that we have. The fights we have devastate me. And then she said, she said this twice. I have arguments with John that paralyze me.
Yeah, I know. She kept saying that. She's like, this is going to ruin me.
Is that normal?
No, it's not.
So, like, if you're saying, I mean, you just said this in an episode. I know, if you're saying stuff like this to your friend, like if you told me that, I would be like, Hannah, I'm concerned.
Right. Especially like, you know, when you're like 19
right,
and you're having that kind of reaction. But I feel like as a 50, 60-year-old woman, I mean, actually I don't know how she is, so that's really mean,
but she's got to be around there,
50 at least.
They're all around that age.
I feel like you should not be like that in a relationship. And I
No.
don't know if she's still kind of like thinks that's how a relationship would be because of her ex-husband.
Well,
but there was a whole thing with that
yeah,
too, where
there
it was
was.
like, you said that he hit you, and she's like, no, I didn't.
It's like, and I understand where the other woman can be really frustrated and not
Right.
like not even coming from a point of like friendly concern, but from like a job reality
Right.
standpoint, where it's like she'll say all this stuff and like others will divulge stuff about their personal lives.
Right.
But then on camera, she acts like they have this perfect thing. And she's almost like gaslighting herself and being like, I'm more in love than I've ever been.
Right.
Like, I am so happy. Like, I get why they're frustrated
Right.
by that too.
And then it's like you're going to tell all your friends this stuff, and they're going to be like, hey, has Shannon said like something
Right.
weird? And then when they start talking about it because they're getting a little concerned, then you're mad at them.
I know. The other thing with that too, I'm just like, don't all women do this? Like, not the fighting part, but like, you know, if a friend, like you just said, comes to you and says like, hey, you know, I had this drama with my boyfriend, my
Right.
husband. Like, don't all women just say, like, maybe you, like Heather said, you don't go into specifics, but you
Right.
might say like, hey, you know, like I was having lunch with so-and-so yesterday and they mentioned
Right.
this. Like, has she said anything to you about
Right.
it? Like, don't we all do that? Like,
Right.
I don't think that it always comes from a place of like hatred.
Right, and especially like it sounds like Heather and Shannon had become pretty close.
Right.
So if Shannon or the other girls or if Heather or the other girls are coming to each other, it seems like that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's really hard to know like what everybody's fully talking about because they're
Right.
not saying it on camera. But like as far as we know, Heather just said to people, hey, I've talked with Shannon and she's
Right.
told me some things that are kind of bad about her
Right.
relationship. It didn't seem like, even when Tamra brought it up, she didn't have things to say like she said this and this and
Right.
this. So it was all very vague. And I don't know. I just think it's weird too. Like Shannon wants John to be on the show, but then you can't talk about him at all.
Right. Because
Like-
she's like scared of his reaction. I don't like that.
I also saw, you should look it up. It was on Bravo and it was like a montage, like the timeline of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually really interesting because I didn't watch it for a
No.
couple seasons. So it started out like everything is great, you know. I didn't know love could be like this, blah, blah. And then when COVID happened, it sounded like they had some rocky points. And that was when like some of the ugliness of their relationship started to rear its head. And she even like said some things about it on the show that were in this video. And it just seems like it didn't really get better from there.
Right.
But even like, who was it? Did Emily say it or did Heather say it? Where it was like, he won't pay for stuff.
I think it might have. Actually, I can't remember, but I remember. But Emily was like kind of listing some things off there.
It really doesn't sound like it's.
I know. I was like,
It
and then
makes
it's
me
kinda
sad
I know.
for
I was
her.
just gonna say that doesn't make me feel good. Like I don't like watching, knowing that. I don't know.
I know, and it makes me even sadder when she's there, like completely defending
Right.
the relationship and getting this upset
Right.
about even people alluding to a crack in the foundation.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like what Emily was trying to say was really from a good place of being a friend.
and it yeah, I thought so too. She's like, you know what? Now that we're talking about it, let's talk about
Yeah.
it. And I feel like that next episode, there's like that preview, and Emily's like, "You are Jekyll and Hyde,
Yeah.
Shannon." So I feel like she seemed really like hurt. It's like, what in the world has happened here?
I know. Well, she made it sound like she has said some things to Shannon about her marriage as well.
Right.
And, you know, she's just confided like a friend would confide. And she's just kind of upset that like maybe Shannon doesn't trust her to do that
Right.
with her, or she just kept saying like, I can help you. Like, I want to be there for you.
Right.
And Shannon is fully shutting it down.
I know. She was
It honestly just.
And then there goes Tamra skipping her way into the limo with, or not limo, but
sickened me to even see that. I'm like, you just started this whole
everyone
thing
riled up,
and then you're just walking away.
Takes
unscathed.
her wig off.
I know.
She was literally skipping.
Like that's what she wanted.
Was it her, Vicky, and Shannon all left?
Which I see Vicky. I mean, she really stayed out of it, but she even said like when I think it was Heather was saying like, why is this all me? Like all of us had had conversations with her. And then Vicky was like, I know like what is vaulted and we don't talk about it. So this is like a known thing.
Right. I actually thought Vicky has been kind of like the voice of reason in these
which
few
is
episodes.
Odd.
And she seems a little chilled out.
Yeah, she really does. But yeah, and then when she even said like, all I know is Shannon's my friend, and if she wants this relationship to work, like I will support her.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's, a way to go about it, but I think the other girls
some of that
are
stuff
trying.
Concerning.
Right. And it seemed like at the end where it had like Heather, Emily, and Gina together, and they're like, it is coming from a place of concern. Like, that's all that we're doing. Like, it really does seem like they're genuinely just like, we want to help. But Tamra, of course, twisted it all up.
Right. And then skipped away.
Like there
princess.
Wasn't any issues, and she just is the best friend ever. And thank goodness for Tamra.
It's going to be a good reunion. That's all
oh my gosh. It does make me just think though, with like all the Real Housewives, it's like, why is everything so alcohol fueled?
I know.
It's like, I know that we, release our inhibitions when we have a couple drinks, but it's just like, even with some of this, like you can tell that some of them are just so.
I know. And it's like, if you have to get that drunk to be in this situation or like working basically, maybe this isn't what you should be doing.
I know.
But did we want to talk about speaking of the reality show and the drinking and stuff, do you want to talk about the strike a little bit?
Oh, yeah, because we're going to talk about it, and then we didn't last week.
I know. I mean, I think, like, obviously the writer's strike and actor's strike is about, like, a big part of it is residuals and AI and stuff, but I do think it was interesting, the residuals for the reality show stuff and just kind of like the stuff that Bethany was bringing up. I'm very torn on it.
I am too. And we've kind of talked about it like frequently off camera or whatever. But like, I do think that there's still a difference between like a Vanderpump, a Real Housewives, like a franchise like that versus The Bachelor or like Love is Blind.
When you're having these like one season wonders.
Yeah. Like and it's not that I don't think that those people should be treated ethically and fairly. Like, of course they should. And I don't even know if it's 100% proven that they are not being treated that way. But like, everyone should have proper working conditions.
Right. You should be able to eat and take breaks But
I just don't see like why. Like with a show like The Bachelor or whatever, you're so replaceable.
Right.
It's literally like, okay, you don't want to do it, fine. Then we'll get literally anyone else
to do it.
Yeah. So you don't really bring anything to it. And even with like Real Housewives, like you can argue the same thing, but at the same time, like we have seen housewives that come in that just do not mesh, that don't bring it, and they don't come back next season because they're like, no, we can get somebody else.
Right.
But I feel like the more franchise, like you're in there for multiple seasons, like you should be able to benefit from residuals and stuff like that. But I don't really know that somebody that's on something for like one season, if they should get the same type of benefit.
I know. And it does feel like there should be some kind of, I don't know, a union for reality show people though, and even if they are just like the one hit wonder thing, just because you like are employed. I don't know, it's like such a weird,
it is so weird because
it's so weird. And I do feel like reality TV is kind of like this, especially like those one season thing or like one season things.
Yeah.
It is kind of just like pretty like wild west out there, and I do think it's like, okay, kick you out, we're done with you, and blah blah blah. Like I feel like there should, I don't know, be some kind of something, but I don't even know like how long these people are gone. Like, are they gone for 6 weeks? Are you gone for 3 months? I mean, that's like more of a chunk of your, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It is really, I feel like there should be something in place, but it can't just be a blanket thing for everybody. Like there needs to be different tiers or something, or even like, I mean, I feel like there should be a difference between somebody that was on the first episode and got voted off or whatever versus someone who made it to the final 5.
Right. And it does seem like that's probably why they don't do anything, because that would be so much logistics to have to get into with like all those. Like, I mean, I just don't even know. They'd have to be like network by network.
I know.
But that wouldn't really like help that much. But it was interesting kind of like to think about the fact that like, you know, the Jersey Shore people and stuff, I don't even know if they're like getting much residual at all.
Probably
and that's
not.
like, so especially with like the streaming, I know that's kind of like the main part of the regular strike, which is just crazy. Like you just think these people are making like all this money, and it's not like, I know people have said it's like, it's not just about Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. It's like the actual writers. I watched a really interesting video, maybe we can link it, but this guy like really explained it really well, and he said I think he said like 8 or like 9 major-ish small parts in movies. He's like, I made $26,000 that year, and he's like, I'm like doing these. He's like, they're even speaking parts. It's not like this main role, but I'm like, that's all I made.
It is shocking to see the range. Like,
it is.
You have somebody like that who I would say having 8 roles in a year is like, okay, that's pretty good. I
know,
you know?
Like that's steady. You'd think they'd be making like $100,000 at least.
I mean, that's like significantly less than I make.
Right.
You know, and like, I'm sure, I'm not going to say they worked harder. I don't know, but
and they probably
feel
work
like I work pretty hard.
And I'm sure they work
less days and whatever,
and stuff. But
then just to think of that, where like they had a real role on whatever, and then versus like, say just Leonardo, because you brought him up, where he's making a few million for one. I mean, that's a huge, and then even think about the like execs of the production company, and they're making, you know, hand over foot, like triple, like 5 times what Leo's making. Like it really is unfair, and I think that something needs to be done, but it's just, it's so challenging with reality, and I think it's kind of something that like flew under the radar because nobody really knew where it was going to go. Right. And then with how streaming has become so much more popular. I know,
and they're like putting the old episodes back on these streams. It's like, wait a minute, and I'm not getting compensated.
Fueled by COVID.
Right.
Because
we couldn't go to the theater. Yeah. We were binge watching more than ever before.
Right. Like, who would have, I mean, how many people started watching like Vanderpump or whatever from the beginning during COVID or any of those? It's like
rewatching Jersey Shore.
Yes, I know. I have been, you know, I think we talk about like Nick Vial's podcast on here, and we're always kind of mixed. But I do enjoy listening when he talks about stuff with The Bachelor and his experience with reality TV, since he's done it so much. And just like he can freely talk about it. Right. And like he has such like honest opinions about it and things. And like I think he's kind of a little more like where we stand, where it's like something needs to be done, but also like, you know, it can't be all the same for everybody. And at the same time, reality TV stars are replaceable. And he kind of made the point of like, okay, which we brought up too before I even heard him say this, but like, where's the line? Like if they start, like reality TV stars are allowed to like say whenever they want to break or have say in the editing, is it reality anymore? Like that completely changes everything, honestly.
Yeah, it's like even like if you're just thinking of the Kardashians too, it's like they're only putting out what they want to put out, and it's boring. It's not interesting to watch anymore because it's so curated and like nobody wants to watch it. So it is kind of like we just exploit people
Well,
for good TV. But I mean,
but again, if you don't want to be a part of it, you don't have to.
Like, I'll take your place, baby.
Yeah, I mean those like one-off shows. It's like, okay, like if I choose to quit my job or ask for time off for however long they're filming, like that's my choice.
Right.
And I just hope that my job is still there. You know, like you make a choice. And if you don't want to do that, if you read the contract and you don't agree with it, no one's forcing you to sign it. It's so hard. You know?
It is. I know it is tough. And did you hear... Well, I heard rumblings that Raquel Leviss isn't coming back.
I heard that too.
Because she might be doing something with like a lawsuit. Because they were passing around, I guess, it wasn't on camera, but it was like during like production, the video of her that Sandoval had. And it like just the ethics of that too. Like you can't be spreading that around, and they're like a part of it. I know, that's what I heard. Who knows?
But it makes me think though, because I mean, from the other podcasts that we listen to, like Sheena's and Lala's, and they said on the podcast, like, I haven't seen the video. So you wonder, like, did they actually see it? But they were saying that they didn't. Did they actually not see it? And then it's hard. Like, those cameras are always up. They're always filming. But like what just happened with the below deck thing, it was like they kept filming. Right. But that producer went in and was like, hey, you know, you need to stop.
I am so shocked that they had that on there. I mean, that was almost like, that was the start of an assault.
I know, that was, and like, it was
fully...
so... I mean, I'm like, triggering isn't the right word. I wasn't like triggered by that, but it was hard to watch.
If you haven't seen it, you should look it up.
Yeah,
people.
I mean,
it's like just the fact that it was on just like a plain old episode. It's like this girl had been passed out drunk and they're both cast members of the show. Yeah. And he was in there. Like the one girl walked away. Yeah. And then he went in there. He's totally naked, like on top of her, and like production and stuff and the camera crew are like, no, like you have to get out of here.
And stay out.
He was like, man, shut up.
That was
it was
crazy.
Disturbing.
It really was disturbing. And I am so glad that they stepped in. I mean, if they wouldn't have, like, my God, like how horrific.
Literally.
But like, thank goodness the cameras were up.
I know, and there was like some kind of fourth wall being broke. It's like,
they fired him, just to be clear.
And then the same thing happened with a girl as well, where she was like on a guy too that was like passed out.
With that, the same thing with the below deck where the guy was fired. It was weird too, because was that like his girlfriend, the other girl that like he left the room and he went to her and she's like, what did you do? Like, it was almost like she was kind of trying to cover up. But I didn't know if that she was the girlfriend. I didn't know, because I don't watch that show.
No, I didn't either.
But then she ended up getting fired too.
Yeah.
So that was just insane.
It was. And yeah, so it's like, I guess there should be, I don't know.
I know, but it was weird too, because I'm like, should they have put this out there? But then I'm glad that they did, to show like, or this is real and we did something about it, and like he should be called out.
I know, I kind of wondered that too. I mean, it was like, I don't know if there was any kind of warning that was going to happen.
I don't know either, because I just saw the clip of it.
The part of it, they're like, whoa, this just happened. It's like, do we know this was going to happen?
Right. I don't know. To kind of loop back, because we just casually mentioned the Bethany Frankel involvement. Do you find that genuine?
When I was watching a video of her talking about it, and she's saying all the right things that would make you think it was genuine. Like, well, it's us, the bigger people, that have to stand up for like the smaller people that don't have a voice. She's like, I'm not really getting anything about it. But then she kind of was still like, you know, they're showing the old episodes. She's like, I only got paid $7,200 for
the first season.
Yeah, it's like,
well, and I
don't know.
Heard, this is, I think, from Juicy Scoop, another shout out, Heather. But where I think it was on her podcast, where they were talking about how she actually had this contract for a reality show that she was trying to get produced, and the contract was horrific.
Yeah, I did hear that.
So it's like, Okay.
Do you care?
Right.
Or is she kind of like, that fell through, she's like, well, fine, I'm gonna create some more disturbances. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I guess I think it's genuine. With history of Bethany has always been out for Bethany, and she really doesn't care about anybody else. So
I mean, I guess this would benefit her if we're talking like residuals. So it's like if she can get enough people on her side, and she's like, I've had like, was it like 18 other reality stars reach out to me, and
it's just like with Bethany, and especially with everything else that she's been doing with TikTok and like where she's just cosplaying like the middle class, as Heather McDonald puts it. But it's like, it all just seems like, well, I burned all my bridges with Bravo. They're not going to have me back.
Right.
Now I've got to try and make this on my own. And I like literally, when you think about Bethany Frankel, like, she is so smart. Like everything that she does. I mean, she built her empire herself. She was a great housewife to watch on the show. And then her like follow-up shows, Bethany Getting Married and Bethany Ever After.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I didn't watch all of them, but like amazing that she had 2 of those. But it's just like, she just never feels like, it feels like she's just acting. Like, I am a people's person. Like, I'm here
do
for
care about
you.
the little reality TV stars.
But yeah, I don't feel like it's genuine.
I know. And then somebody also brought up the fact that Nene was like, has been talking about this for so long and no one was like listening. But now that it's like Bethany and like also the other writers are like even on the regular strike too, it's like now it's people are listening.
Okay, we're gonna listen now. It's like what we said before about the Megan Fox thing. Like nobody listened to her before, and then we have the whole Me Too movement. It's like, oh, okay,
now
Nene
we'll
was
listen
just
to you.
Ahead of the curve on that one. Yeah, I guess with the Bethany thing, it's like if, you know, what she does can help others, obviously that's great. But I just personally don't think that that's her real motivation.
No, I definitely think she's the one who's going to, all of a sudden, Bethany has a network and it's like doing the same thing.
Oh my gosh, right.
But we'll see how it turns out. We'll see if anything becomes
it's been going on for quite a while. And I feel like it's died down a little bit. Like it hasn't been.
Because they're like losing their homes.
I know. It really is sad.
It is sad, especially because that's like, it really isn't fair. That one woman from Stranger Things, did you see what she was saying? She basically was in 2 other shows and she made like way more in residuals, and from Stranger Things she only made 30 or less than $400.
Wow. Well, but
she wasn't even like a super main character, but still it's like this
how many times. But that's the caveat with Netflix too. It's like, because I've seen where it's like if it was on its original network, which say it was like, I don't know, like ABC, just say, and it was a sitcom that was on there, and it goes in syndication on that network, then you get residuals from that, but not with reality still. But then if it gets sold to like Netflix, then that's a completely different thing, and you don't get residuals from it anymore. And so then it's like all these people who did those like Netflix series, they're kind of in this gray area.
I know. And then they were saying too that like those big companies aren't being honest about like the actual like viewership where they should be compensated more, because there's really, I mean, nobody can see how many people are. It's like,
I saw that, and which I don't really understand all of that, but I saw where like Netflix says something like streaming hours
where
versus
it was like,
it's just, and it was like, in a way it's a way to like inflate their numbers when it's not that in reality, but like either way, the other people aren't being paid for those out. It just, I'm not deep in that world, so I can't.
I know, I don't really understand all that, but
I know that people aren't being treated fairly. That's what I get from this.
Those poor writers.
And the people on top are the ones that are reaping all the benefits. So crazy stuff. I hope that they can get that resolved and come to a fair, you know.
I know, and they don't like force these people to get, but I do want to shout out A24, who does a lot of good scary movies. They got that all squared up nice and quick.
Well, that's what we like to see. That's what we like to see.
Leave it to a smaller, company.
But this is what's going to get crazy with the reality is because they're not involved in this strike and stuff, reality is going to be the only thing that people can watch.
Yep.
Especially come fall because stuff isn't. So now we're going to be heavily relying on reality.
I know. And they're going to have an even more upper hand. I mean,
it's all wild.
It is wild.
Wow. What a time to be in the industry. As if.
Soon as there's going to be podcasters on strike.
You know what? I'll get behind it.
If TikTokers want to go by on strike, I'll be out there picketing.
We'll go out on the street.
Something ain't right here. We're not being fairly
compensated. How are you only showing this to one person? How many people are on this app? What do my hashtags do? If people have tips, again, we will gladly take them.
What are you interested in?
Do you want to take a little break?
Sure.
All right. Okay, we're back. Before I forget, I wanted to bring up the Terry Dubrow health scare. I saw... Hello, Winnie. I saw he was supposed to be on Watch What Happens Live. And
I didn't know he was supposed to be on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah, and then he obviously didn't end up going, and Heather was there, and then he zoomed in or whatever, and they were kind of talking about it. But he had all the signs of a stroke, and if it wasn't for Heather really pushing him, then it could have been really bad.
That is.
I was genuinely to say I was shaken by it is dramatic, but it was just so real, Right. You're and especially Terry Dubrow is a doctor. He's a surgeon and he knows so much. And then for him to even be no, I'm fine.
Right.
It's wow, we really are all human. And this stuff is real. It's scary. But what it made me think about, because I didn't know the age difference between those two. So I looked it up and it's about 10 years. And I think it's just interesting when we've touched a little bit about some age difference relationships and stuff. And I just think it's all fun and games when it's
20, 30, 40,
even
40,
40s, 50s. Okay, Winnie.
Here we go.
At least sit down. Oh, okay, there we go. She is, that is freaking cute.
What, my angel girl.
That was precious. But yeah, it's all fun and games. But then when you start to get even 50, 60 can be a little shaky, especially 60, 70.
I know. That's sort of
there's a big difference there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's 55 to 65, which is about where Terry and Heather are right now. Health issues can start to happen. And obviously we know things can happen at any age,
right?
But you're more susceptible as you get older. But it's just something I think that people don't really think about,
right?
It's it's all great, but then are you really committing to taking care of this person now
right.
that you are still lively and able to do things, but they have a health issue or are just aging? And that's only 10 years. Some of these that are a 20-year-old with a 50-year-old, getting into that you're going to be taking care of them or you're going to just ask for a divorce.
And sometimes too, women will get kind of a second wind, in their 40s. And then if you're with a guy who's 70, it's you're what am I doing here?
Right. Or, I think we more commonly see the younger woman with the older man, but it is kind of with that, when it's flipped and it's the older woman, younger man, and this is being very stereotypical, but does that 20-something man really think ahead?
Right.
Where it's if there's a 15-year age difference between this woman, are you really going to commit to taking care of her, or is it just I'm with this hot older woman right now?
And we're I know. Well, you just sent me him earlier and I can't think of his name.
Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, it's he's out here. They've been together for so long.
Yeah, they have. Well, that's deeper.
That's really disgusting. But she is getting old, and he's still pretty ripe.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I saw, because he just was in Esquire, the cover, and he looks really good. I mean,
he's a handsome guy.
Yeah, but in the comments, and I sent some to you, and then I saw another one, and it was like part of his interview, and he's like, well, I have 4 daughters, and people were like, no, you have 2 step siblings and 2 children. Because the
That's
2
just
are
like
like so close in his age.
It's just wild. Like,
It's just, and I mean, if they're happy, I guess that's
right.
but it just makes you think, like, are you thinking ahead in the the future? Like, do you have the foresight to actually commit to, like, I'm going to be, especially if you're married, and even if you're not, but you have like a fully committed relationship, like, you're committing to, like, I'm going to be with you through the good and the bad and the sickness and the health. And well, did you think about the sickness is going to be coming earlier for them than
when they're 80 and you're 40?
Yeah,
it's like, come on.
I know. But yeah, I mean, I think Terry and Heather seem to have a strong relationship, and especially since Heather was so adamant that he, like, get help and whatever. And 10 years, I mean, it can be a lot. Like, and he's coming up on 70. Like, that's
wild.
And he doesn't look it.
No, or seem it or anything.
Right. But that right there just goes to show, like, age is a funny thing.
It is. It's all fun and games.
I know. Until
you're old.
Your body
the
just
one of
starts
old.
shutting down. Yeah. I guess going with kind of a little bit what we talked about with housewives, you kind of you had a topic to bring up regarding forgiveness.
Yes. So I had this, like, a few years ago. Should I get into most of the whole thing?
I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with.
I don't know if it's important or not. Anyway, there's this person at the church, at my church, who, like, it tried to, like, intervene and stop me from, like, marrying my husband, because I honestly don't even really understand why he thought we were unevenly yoked.
But the weird thing was that it wasn't like he was so close to you.
No, he wasn't that. I, like, would hang out with his wife. His wife was kind of like a mentor to me back in the day.
But not even, it just was inappropriate.
It was. And then he just kind of, like, ambushed me and, like, acted, pretty much implied that I was getting old and desperate at the age of, what was it, like 24.
Yeah,
like I don't know if you're, like, getting to be, like, older and you just want to get married. And I'm like, and just, like, saying these just really mean, degrading things, and it was so bizarre. And I just, like, at the time I didn't really, like, stick up for myself because it was so shocking. And he was, like, saying mean things about my husband and, at the time, fiance, and him and I had been together. We were together 3 years before we got married. It wasn't like I just found some randomly guy off the street. And he just kept, like, and then my husband at the time worked a full-time job and a part-time job. And he's like, is he gonna, like, do that when you get married? Just, like, all these really weird points. And he's like, he didn't even, like, I said to you, like, him and I need to go, like, hang out and or, like, go talk. I needed to talk to him, and he hasn't done that. I'm like, he works, like, and why would he be? Why
does he need your approval?
No, it's like, you're not my dad. You're, like, freaking 8 years older than me, if that. Like, the whole thing was so bizarre, and it was so hurtful, and just, like, this, I can't even remember everything that was said, but it was just the most bizarre thing ever. And then I, like, told the wife or whatever, I was like, I'm not, like, she, like, texted me like, hope you're not discouraged but encouraged. I was like,
what does that even mean?
Literally, I'm like, I'm not going to, like, meet with you anymore. And then she's like, okay, I understand. Well, then he, like, never apologized. I stopped going to church there, blah 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 blah. But I kind of, like, in my self, like, I was, like, mad for a long time, but I think I was so frustrated with myself that I didn't stand up for myself more, and because it was just mean, you know what I mean? Like, it was hurtful. So anyway, I just kind of, like, in my head was like, okay, he doesn't think he did anything wrong, and he's not gonna apologize, and that's never gonna be a thing. So you kind of, like, move on, even if it's, like, still kind of upsetting, and, like, I don't want to talk to him,
but, like, what else can you do?
Right. You know? It's like, he's never gonna see that he was wrong. So let's flash forward to a couple days ago. My relative ran into him, and this relative I have is very confrontational, and like decided to confront him about the situation, and was like, no, like what you did is wrong. You just were so out of line, basically. And then he's like, oh, I guess I didn't think of it like that. And it was like so. And then my relative was like, you know, you need to make it right with her and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and I don't even mind that my relative even confronted them about it. But at the same time, like, I don't really want to like I feel kind of more moved on in a sense, even though there wasn't like full closure. But it's like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to talk to you about it. I don't want you to like apologize because I don't feel like you think you did anything wrong.
Doesn't seem like it.
No. So it's like, and then, you know, not to get into like a man-woman thing, but it's like, why did it take, because this relative was a man, it's like, why did it take a man to like spell it out for you, like why you were wrong? And I don't know, it's just like after all that time, it's like, I guess like some people would be like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is a big apology and stuff. And maybe I should look at it like that, but I honestly don't even want to deal with it. Like, I feel like it's just not gonna like help. Maybe it will. I don't know. Like, could you like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I would really feel either. But how did you feel with just the fact that your relative confronted him?
I didn't mind the confronting, but now it's kind of like it was led into like, now I have to go deal with this again. That's a part that I didn't want to do. I didn't mind the confronting because it's like, fine, I don't care. Because it's like, it doesn't affect me. And it's just like, and even some of this stuff where the guy that had wronged me was like, what? But I said, hey, how you doing? And she said, good. And then my relative was like, come on, man, you know that's not, you know, like, give me a break,
that just
you freaking
shows
idiot.
How clueless some men can be.
I know,
you know?
like, well, I did what, and I know just naturally men and women are just different like that. Like, we're reading into every single little word and like still thinking about something 20 years later, and men don't do it as much and they can kind of like quickly get over things. But I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know.
I mean, it has to feel kind of good that your relative like stuck up for you.
Yeah, and it definitely does. Like, and it's like, I wanted to see like this person get like confronted for once, you know.
But I feel you with like, okay, well,
problem.
now what do I do? Like, and like you said, I don't really want to have a conversation with this person, and now am I gonna see him and they're actually gonna come talk to me about it? Like, it's like, and then what are you supposed to say? Like, literally, don't, if they do come up to you, like, do not just say, it's okay, it's fine, you know.
No, I'm not. And that's the thing too, like, now that I'm older and like have lived a little bit more life and am better at standing up for myself, I feel like that's why I don't really think the conversation would be productive, because I would be kind of mean, because it's like, no, I'm not going to deal with like a man like treating me like that again, like, especially you. It's like, I'm not going to put up with it. And it's like, I don't really have anything nice to say. I guess maybe it's like, I'm over it, but I don't have anything nice to say. If that makes sense.
And it's like, you're fine with just moving forward with your life. But if it's going to be brought up to you again and he's going to come and say something, then you have every right to share how you're feeling about it. Even if you have moved on, it's like, that doesn't mean it's okay. Like, and I feel the exact same way that you said with like, now that I'm older, like I'm sure I've been in multiple situations where something actually hurt me that somebody did. And I was just like, oh no, it's fine. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And they're like, sorry. And I'm like, no, it's really okay. Like, even though it wasn't.
Or like something gets kind of like glossed over the next day and you're like, and then sometimes when you can like reflect on it, you're like, no, like that was totally out of line.
And it's not like you want to cause a huge scene or a big drama, but there's nothing wrong with sharing how you feel about a situation either, or how someone did hurt you. Right. But man, you'll have to update us on
if anything happens.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Do you think it will?
I honestly don't know. And I don't know. I really, really don't know if I think this person will actually
do it.
I mean, and I'm worried too that it'll be kind of, because I just felt like the way it was, hopefully not presented in this way, but I felt like it was like, oh, she's still so mad and so like, and this relative kind of brought up that like, she's more of like a sensitive type of person and blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like that wasn't the way to go. It's not like I'm sitting around here just like crying. And like I am a sensitive person.
Yeah, like it wasn't, they weren't lying.
It's not like I just feel everything so deeply all the time. But it's like, I don't know. But that's not why. Like that person was still wrong. And I just feel like it's going to get twisted into like, I understand you're still mad. No, I'm not still mad, but I don't think the way you...
Or like one of those situations where it's like, I'm sorry that you felt that. It's like, no,
you're not gonna. And that's what I'm afraid it's gonna be. And I hope I'll be able to just like be
It's so hard though, because it's like, I know I will always like play a scenario in my head and like, this is what I'm gonna say, but then like it never happens, like, or I get there and I freeze.
I know, literally, like I feel like I'm gonna just like freeze up, or just, and like sometimes I'll be so exhausted and like uninterested in something that I'll kind of just be like not shut down, but just kind of
just like this is not even worth my energy, or it just takes you off guard, like you're not expecting them to say something in that moment,
and which is kind of like the main thing of it too when it originally happened, was it was so catching me off guard, and it was just like the most bizarre thing. Like sometimes I'll like go to church and have like these existential crises when I'm like sitting there, and I don't even know if you would say it's in a good way. Like I feel like it's like a bad.
When are existential crises like positive?
It's like I'll just be like sitting there, like I told you this off camera, but I'm just gonna share it on here too again, where it was like this person, this young man, I don't know, probably a little older than me, or maybe I'm older than them, I don't even freaking know, it doesn't matter, my age, was like being brought to be the elder, being as an elder of the church, and the way these like 8 suited men like got up on this stage and were like, I just was like, what? Am I in some kind of a Twilight
You're
zone?
Like looking around like
is this normal? Like, are we
people just accepting this?
These suited men, and I don't know, like the church has grown, but I mean, it's not a mega church, and they were up there acting like this was like, I just was like, I didn't understand what was happening.
Sometimes it is just like organized religion is such a strange concept. And like you said, you're kind of in it, because I'll be at church sometimes too, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Literally. And then like there was this point too where there was like this couple that's like hasn't been going there that long, but they were newer, and they were all like snuggly wuggly and like, I'm like, is this real? Like, is this the way they are normally, or is this all just a show?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I feel like sometimes at like this church that everybody is so worried about what everyone else is thinking about them. It's like, why are you here if you feel like you're walking on eggshells?
I know.
Like, it's just like,
well, and sometimes when you bring up like the young couple thing, and this isn't to like bash any church or religion, but even though it kind of seems like it, but it's not, because we're both a part of some. So, but something. It's just like, I feel like they'll almost like purposefully like put them right up in the front.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, look, these are our new
They're so
inductees.
in love. I know.
Yeah, our new couple. And guess what? They're getting married soon.
They've been together for 3 months and the wedding is in 2.
I mean, it's just, it does feel disingenuous, I think. And it just gives you that weird, it's like, am I supposed to be doing that?
I know, it does it is like this just super weird thing. And like, even, you know, sometimes, not to get into this, but let's just do it. Like the LGBTQ community. Yeah. And if they like say something, then there's like this one time, I can't even remember what was said, but then there was some of these older people that were like, you know, like talking about like that. I'm like, come on, like, I'm sorry, but it's like, stop acting like that.
I know.
About thing. And it's like, you know, it's always these hot button topics. It's like abortion,
right?
Gay, you know,
right.
Or like LGBTQ.
Or just the point of just being gay, anything other than,
and then cheating in your relation or like your marriage. It's like, those are the only 3 things. These are the like clearest things we can get people on, but nobody's talking about
the closeted abuse that happens,
the man treating the woman like absolute garbage, the children that
or
are
even
like
just the million children that people have sometimes, or even just like the pressure that is put upon people. Like the pressure that gets put upon kids, where it's like, you have to act a certain way. Do you see how this family acts at church? Like, you have to act that way, or you better not do that, or you can't be friends with those people, or
it's like,
or then like the pressures of just like, it's just not real, especially like you said, if somebody is like an elder in the church, or even just like a higher up within, you know, fundraising for the church. It's like, well, we have to look like a perfect family, you know. That happened at, it's a church like adjacent to the one that I go to, where like they seemed like this perfect family. They had multiple kids.
They always do.
Yep. And then all of a sudden it comes out that like the husband, there was some sort of domestic altercation with one of the sons. And I don't know all the details, and I don't need to know all the details, but the parents got separated. But it's like, that was totally kept under wraps because
that doesn't look good.
Right. And I'm sure that the wife was in a very tough spot herself emotionally, but also then they went and acted like they were just the model family. And it's like, it's okay to not be and to have your issues, but you kind of put this pressure upon yourself.
I know, for what? To impress people?
Right.
Because you're so worried about what the congregation's gonna. There was this really weird situation this one time, this guy that they were trying to like kind of like help like house and stuff, but because he was having enough, like, this woman was married and he was like with her, and she wasn't like divorced, like she left her husband for him, but they weren't like divorced yet, and they were like, you need to like stop that, which it's like, okay, that's fine, trying to get that to stop. But then he like kind of didn't listen, and he wasn't gonna come back, but then he did, and they made him get up on the front.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Whatever.
In front of everybody?
In front of everyone, and apologize.
To the congregation?
Yes, to the congregation. I was like...
And like, what do you... Like, you're sitting there like, what is happening?
Like, this guy does not owe me an apology. Right. This is none of my business.
And at that point, it's just embarrassing.
It is. And he's up there like apologizing and just like getting up. And then I'm sitting there thinking, but this pastor can't apologize.
Right.
But it was like, he's up there. And it's like, why is... Okay, so, but if you guys don't believe in like, you know, viewing porn and stuff, what about all these guys that are probably still viewing it? Right. Shouldn't they be up there apologize?
That's
shouldn't we all like be up there like nobody's
perfect.
No. And then the fact that and he's like an older guy who doesn't have much. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but it's
then
like,
he has to go up and
apologize
and he's probably
to me?
Felt pressured to it because it's
like you need to get up there,
you know, safe place, quote unquote, or where he has support.
I know.
Like, well, is it real support?
I know, if you're making him like humiliate himself. And it's like, if he needed to apologize to the people that were trying to help him out, like, you know what, guys, you were helping me and I still left and went to this wherever. But he didn't owe me an apology. No. I didn't need to know any of that.
Right.
Yeah, why should I know any of that? It's like
that's really uncomfortable.
It's crazy.
It's so hard because there are so many things that like I don't agree with what, and it's not even just a blanket of like the religion. It's really like by the priest or, you know, whoever, person by person. But it's like, it's so hard to just completely cut yourself off from stuff like that. I know, because
I'm saying all this and
but you
the
still
three
go
people
to
that are listening are like, why do you still go there? And it's like, well, I am like struggling with that situation. But it's like sometimes I can be moved more by like even like if you're thinking about a Taylor Swift song, that is
it sounds kind of dumb, but it is
but
true.
It can move me more and like even spiritually affect me more than sometimes than sitting in this room with all these people that are trying so hard to impress. And it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
I know.
It's like,
that's the way I felt because like when I went through some dark times mentally, just thinking about like song lyrics when we went to the Fall Out Boy concert, I'm like, damn, like and I didn't listen to that music at that time, but I'm like, wow, like I felt this so hard and all the things that I did involving religion, like that didn't help me, but like this random song like would have, you know, and that's not the only thing that would get me through a tough time. But it just goes to show that like sometimes they push one thing. Our religion pushes one thing. It's like, no, this is what you have to do. This is what we believe. This is it for you. And it's like, no, it isn't. Like, just look beyond.
I know. It's like, it can be anywhere. And it's like,
well, that really took us in a different way than we thought it was.
But I do think it's interesting. I do think that there are people who have like, you know, questioned their faith. They're like, have been burned by the church and the people of the church. And I do think like every once in a while I'll like listen to stories of like church trauma. And it's like, wow, you know.
I know. I guess we've said this before in our former Catholic school girls episode, but it's like, I think partially because we were kind of brought into this when we didn't even have a choice, like as children. So that's why I don't want to say we're stuck in it because we're not, but it's like, that's what made us get into this in the first place.
Right. And it's like, we've been, I mean, from like kindergarten through everything, it's like you always have religion class. You always go to church once a week. It's like, it is hard to like
break that,
not have it a part of your life at all.
And I do like the premise of it, Like I like the, you know, some sort of a structure, believing that there's something else out there that can help you through hard times. Or when we think about people who pass away, you like to think about.
I know. It's like, why wouldn't you want to think of heaven? You know?
So like there's parts of it that I really think are wonderful. And I guess that the what it is for me doesn't, like, that overrides some of the negativity stuff. So when I go to church, I'm like, okay, this is me time. Like, I'm going to make this, even though it's unfortunate that the priest that I primarily go to, like, I don't really resonate with what he says. And I wish that I did, but I just don't right now. So yeah, it's hard. And then also, like, I don't know if you feel this, but I do. Like, I do feel kind of pressured with, like, my family because I go mostly to church with my, like, dad and my grandpa. And how weird would it be, or how hurtful it might be for them if I was like, yeah, I'm not going anymore. You know, like...
And sometimes it is like that too. It's like your family is like expecting you to be there. It's like, and then like my son has like little friends, you know, to play with when he goes there.
Which that's nice for him.
And it's like, it's not that I don't get nothing from going there, but it's like I have a really hard time with the people. And I think when you're thinking of like church people, and when, I don't know, it's like you go out in the real world and you expect people to be mean to you and like to hurt you, but you expect more from people in the church. And when they like are almost worse,
I know, it's almost, it makes like
it difficult.
When we had talked about the Leah Remini stuff, it's like everything that Scientology, and I think it rings true for some other religions too. It's like within that community, it's all wonderful and it works perfectly. But when you go out into the real world, it doesn't like always resonate, and not everybody acts that same way.
And sometimes it do, like when we do think about Leah Remini, it was like she's just like all of a sudden was like, what is going on here? Like, why are these people that were so like regarded as amazing,
even though there were so many things that happened, like specifically involving her, that were just bizarre and horrible? It seriously took like something massive for her to be like, what wait, are we doing here? I know. That's kind of the way, I mean, even though with, you know, I think most major religions, there's been some type of scandal over the years, but it really is like, unless it happens directly to you, I think that it's hard.
You're kind of like, oh yeah, that happened anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like embarrassing for you. Because even like when we, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I went to Catholic school, you get that kind of,
I know.
It's like, okay, well, you know,
right.
It's like,
and also, well, it wasn't my choice to be there. Like, I had no say. Not that I don't regret any of that or, you know, hate my dad for sending me there. But it's just like, I had no say in that. Like, that was just the way it was.
You know, that's where I went to school. That's where the friends were.
Yeah. And sorry I didn't have a horrible experience.
Right. But
yeah, it is just, I don't know. Religion is such a crazy thing.
It is. And...
But it does make you, you know, to the point of what we kind of started talking about was the forgiveness. I think it is like religion has that kind of intertwined with it too. Of like, you know, you should forgive people and all this stuff. But it's just hard when, especially in your situation, this was a person who was supposed to be like a pillar in the church and so helpful. But then they did something that was so out of pocket and like inappropriate, and you're like, what am I supposed to just like forget about it just because of who you are? Like,
I know it is, and I know this is kind of like a layered topic because it was like in the church, but it is also about like, do you ever think about like, okay, if the girls that were mean to us in high school wanted to apologize, do you think you could forgive them like right now?
Well, so this was probably at like a day before Thanksgiving situation, but I did run into one of them and we had an emotional moment in the bathroom. And I honestly, like, now I think that I could be like, you know, I move past that, but like I also can articulate way more like why that hurt me. And if they were open to kind of having that conversation and they were like genuinely being like, hey, like I've done reflection and I've like thought about this and I am really sorry, like I would be more receptive and be like, yeah, like thank you for saying that, because that was a really challenging time for both of us. Right. And I appreciate you recognizing it. Like I think that I would like to think that is what I would say.
Like, you know what? No, I
don't think I would be mad about it anymore.
Right.
You know, even though sometimes the way we talk on here doesn't
like
seem
we are, man. I know it is weird though to like think about. I feel like those are like situations you haven't actually had closure on.
Yeah.
And I do think like, do we need, I think we kind of like talked about it before in the podcast, but it's like, do we need closure all the time? And sometimes it does feel like
we do.
We actually do.
I know. Well, because, and I think you don't really realize it, but then when like you're out, you know, living your life and then somebody will bring up something and you're like, oh, like that reminds me of this one time where this happened to me or this person hurt me or this, and I never got an apology. Right. Like, are you really over it then? Like, did you move on for real? If it still can like raise that type of emotion in you.
And I think, like I kind of said this a little earlier, but it's like sometimes I think of situations like that and I get frustrated with myself for not being able to stand up for myself. And then I'm like, would I feel better if I did that? Or would I be caused more of a fight and then more exchanged words?
And would it, and not that we should feel like we can't stick up for ourselves, but it's just like, would that have even made me feel better if it did escalate more? Like, would I feel good about that then? I don't know. I also, one thing I had written down was like, when we talk about forgiveness and like confrontations or fights, like how much of a difference there is between like family versus friends versus just acquaintances.
Right.
Because I mean, really, like I've had some horrible fights with like my dad or my one cousin.
Right.
And then it'll be like, you know, with my cousin, the next hour he would be like, hey, do you want to watch a movie? And I'd be like, yeah. You know, so
Right.
it was just like, you move on from that, or you hear that about like sisters and stuff. And like, even with you, like we don't really ever fight, but I feel like you could literally like chop my arm off and I'd be like, it's okay.
I know, like, not ideal, but
yeah. I'll be fine. You needed it, I guess.
And I think it is interesting too, because like thinking about somebody's intentions too, it's like, do you think they really like wanted to hurt you? And I feel like that has something to do with like knowing them. Like you said, it's like, I don't think my intention would be bad if I chopped your arm off. I'm sure I had some bizarre reason to do
why
it
it needed to happen.
I know, but I do think it is so much different. Like, and I guess, you know, we aren't really people who just like fight with people all the time, because there's some people that like do that a lot, and it's like, I don't know, it's just, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it is harder though. Well, just with like family for sure, a lot of times you don't ever get that closure.
No.
Like you just don't.
It's like, I guess we have to move on.
Yeah. With friends, sometimes I think you do.
Right.
And then it's like, I think you're more likely to get like an apology from somebody who like isn't really that close to you. But even then it's like, well, situational, because you never did, you know, with that one guy. So I don't know. It is an interesting topic to think about.
Weird. I know. And
then you're replaying all the things in your head. You're like, this situation, this person that hurt me.
I know.
Like,
and then it's like, am I being bad if I don't like meet up with him and let him apologize? I don't know. But I also feel like if you know somebody in like a way, you're like, I know this isn't going to go anywhere, so I'm not going to pick a fight.
Well,
or like,
especially with this person, like it's been years. Right. And it took your relative to bring it up to him. Right. For him to even think like oh,
like she's so mad. Like, and it's like, no, I'm not mad. You know, it's like, it's this whole misconstrued thing. And it's like, I don't want this, like, I almost rather him just like write a little letter and then never have to talk.
And that's where, you know, if you, like you said, if some of the people that were mean to us in high school, if they came up to us or sent us a message and said something, I would feel like more open to that and more receptive to that, because to my knowledge, like they weren't prompted. Right. Whereas in this situation, it's like
completely prompted.
Yeah. Now, you know, like your relative literally said you need to write this with her. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well now you're just doing it because you were told.
Right. Not because you had any perspective.
Right. It's almost like when you have two like, you know, kids fighting. Right. And you're like, okay, well, you need to say you're sorry. Right. And then the kid will be like, sorry. Right. And then it's like, well, you didn't mean that.
You're just trying not to be in trouble anymore. It is, it's just so crazy. I don't even know what to think. Well, and it's like, I don't know. It just, all of it is like it missed the mark. It's like, I'm never going to regret marrying my husband because of my 2 kids. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, so you're wrong. You know,
even and then if some twist of fate, he turned out to be right. It's like, well, I still got these 2 beautiful children and I wouldn't change that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's just such a weird, like, I don't know.
And he just never should have said it anyway. I mean, it was so wildly inappropriate.
So weird, yeah. So we'll see. I guess I'll update you guys.
Yeah, you're going to have to update us if anything happens.
No. What do you have any religious trauma? Do you have any, how do you feel about forgiving?
I know we kind of touched on it before, but like, and I think when we did our little poll, a lot of people said that, you know, to have that closure, it's not necessary. Like, apologies aren't necessary for closure. You don't need to have that all the time. But
think about that.
I know, really do think about it.
Do you really mean that?
Right. Let us know. Let us know.
I'd love to hear any sort of DM us religious trauma.
We would love, and then we won't share those if you don't want us to, but we would love to just hear what other people think.
Yeah.
Get some engagement. Please. Well, to wrap it up, I guess. I guess we can plug our brand ambassadorship. Yeah. We have a couple new little posts that we put up on our socials, so be sure to check that out. For dough, reminder, 10% off with code ESWB.
It's delicious. They sent us donut holes sample. Yeah. They sent us all kinds of stuff.
Well, and this happened off camera, but you tried the classic glaze. I tried the chocolate. Did you like the classic?
I did. They were very good. And they are vegan, just so everybody knows.
They are. And I thought they come in little packs. So it's perfect if you threw it in your lunch for work as a snack.
Kids, in their lunchbox.
So be sure to check them out. It's linked in our descriptions. And check out our socials and be sure to follow us, please. That would be amazing. Do you have a recommendation for this week? I have one if you need to think of it real quick.
Give yours.
I was thinking before I came here because we didn't do one officially last week. I am going to just recommend, we're coming into fall. And I haven't been to Target in a little while, but they had a lot of their fall stuff out. They've probably had it out there for a while, but like I said,
I think everybody's just getting rid of summer.
I'm completely ready.
We're over the rain.
The only thing I will say as a caveat, they have really cute kids stuff in their little bullseye playground part. There were cute stuff, but I was there before I came over to you, and it was college freshman central. There were so many kids that were doing their shopping for college moving. So
wait until the last minute.
Yeah, it was swamped. I was like, holy cow, this is ridiculous. So I honestly felt a little overwhelmed, and I got the one thing I needed, which didn't even end up being what I needed. Different story for different time. And I tried to get out of there as quick as I could. But yeah, I would recommend checking it out. They had some nice candles in there. I'm a little more prone to the Bath and Body Works fall scents, but that's just me.
Love it.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was at Walmart Sunday, and it was a madhouse too, and there was definitely some kids out there getting their stuff.
It's panic. Moving is probably
literally tomorrow.
Yeah.
My gosh! And then I had to get my son's school supplies, and he didn't need much, but everything was so picked over, and it was
because they put it out in June.
Yeah, it's gosh, it's I just needed a couple things.
Can we just live in the moment, please?
Literally, why do people get so crazy? And I know there was that tax-free weekend.
Oh yeah,
stuff, but it's
well, as a side note too, since we're talking a little bit about college stuff, have you seen some of this stuff on TikTok where it'll be a college dorm, and it's literally insane. They've got parents coming in, screwing picture frames into the wall,
my gosh,
putting up wallpaper, changing lighting. I'm my dorm, literally, I got a comforter, I got a lamp, I put up my posters that were on sale that welcome week.
Right.
It's just absurd. These people have to be spending insane amounts
it's all
of money.
about the picture.
Oh, I know.
It's always about the picture. What can we do to make it look like the best time ever? Okay, I have a little recipe that was really fun.
Ooh.
I'll go ahead and do that. I'm sure it's not healthy at all.
Well,
but you take crescent rolls.
Starting out good.
So you take crescent rolls and you cut them into 4s, and then you mix it up with pepperoni or whatever you want to do, and then some Italian seasoning. And then you could also add any other kind of pizza toppings you like. And then you put it in the crock pot.
Oh.
And then you pour the pizza sauce over top of it, and then you put the cheese on top, and you just cook it for 2 hours. I probably would have did a little longer because I wanted to the stuff just a little bit crispier, but it was really good, and it was just doughy, yummy
Easy,
pizza, and it
yeah.
was so easy to make, and the kids loved it, and it was like soft for them because I have a 1-year-old, and
that's such a nice like fall thing.
it was,
too.
and I was like, and I had no idea how it was gonna turn out. I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna be like weird or even cook right, but it ended up being so good. I'm like, I would totally do that again, and then add like banana peppers, just like all
you
kinds
can totally
of stuff
make it
in
your
there.
own.
So, and it could be perfect for like a dish to take like
To a
an
tailgate.
appetizer or something,
Yeah.
even though we had it for dinner, but it was
That's
good.
a good one.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Nice. I almost forgot too about our book club.
Oh yeah. Okay. So so you said you started the book.
I started the book. And you guys know we are doing audiobooks. So we get them, and then I like to procrastinate.
I know. I'm definitely on the rush. And then it's like by the time we get to the
I know.
actually record, maybe we should record it early.
I know. But so far you said you're
about halfway.
okay, and I'm like literally like an hour 15 or so in, hour and a half. But yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's going to be what I was hoping it would be.
I'm hoping it'll get like better towards the end. I mean, I definitely just don't enjoy the childhood parts that much.
Right.
And that's just a personal thing. But I do think there's a way, I can't remember if I said this earlier, but there is a way to talk about like tragedy in your childhood without dwelling on it. Like I think like Molly Shannon, her book was really good, and her parents, her whole family got in a car accident, and because the dad fell asleep at the wheel, and the mom and a sister and then their baby cousin passed away.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was super tragic, but the way she like processes it and deals with it in the book, where it's not like something she totally lingers on all the time, but then it kind of like I don't know, it was just done so much. Like I think there's a way to talk about tragedy without,
well, and just like some of the things that have been discussed so far in my listening of the book, it's not even like tragedy based. It's almost just like, okay, we're going on about the same thing. We're just keep reiterating it. And here's another example of this. It's like, I think it could be a little bit more condensed, hit the high points.
And it like, I don't know.
I mean, you know what? We're not all the way through it.
No, and I think I'm at the part where she's like in Hollywood now, and I'm finding that more interesting. And it's not that it's not interesting. It's just kind of like, I don't know.
I know before we started recording, we were just saying like, if we were to write books, like what would we talk about? And obviously we wouldn't, because we dogged on celebrities that do it when they're like haven't lived any life. But it's, if we were like 70 and we're writing something, like what would we hit on? And I don't think I would like dwell so much on childhood things. I would probably just take the things that were really impactful, or something that was like a childhood memory that really stuck out to me. And some of the stuff, when they just like go on, I'm like, listen, I don't remember this stuff from my childhood, so I wonder how you do.
I have like maybe some people just like some things really stick with them, but it's like, I don't know, I just can't remember stuff in that way. But maybe if I was trying to, maybe I could. I don't really know, but
anyway, I think it'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I do, because there's definitely a part later on that I think was really cool that she brought that point up about it.
Nice. So just make sure, Mean Baby, and we do find out pretty early on why it's called that. Mean Baby. So we don't need to make fun of that anymore.
It was kind of like, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but it was kind of like not sad, but it was I was really surprised.
It's not what I thought at all.
No, I thought it was going to be like, I'm just a tough little
babe. Yeah. It was kind of funny though.
It is. It's like, I guess like in the literal sense.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah, so read along Selma Blair's Mean Baby. We'll be talking about that episode towards the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So you guys still have some time, but we're just a little crunched because we need to return our books. So
ASAP.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Like we said, don't forget to follow us on our socials and please interact with us. We want to know what you think.
A little bit more.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.